Good afternoon, class. I'm David Bergara, and this is my presentation on prostitution. My topic is prostitution, and I am comparing the differences between criminalized, legalized, and decriminalized prostitution to see which policy is best and which is responsible for more crimes, especially sex crimes. I chose this topic because I was interested to see what the problems and crimes associated with prostitution were. My hypothesis going into this was that legalizing and decriminalizing prostitution will increase more crimes. It's important to the criminal justice system because whether or not prostitution is legalized, there are problems and crimes associated with it. Prostitution itself is a crime in most of the United States, except in a few counties in Nevada. And this is just a picture of some prostitutes. So what is considered prostitution? Nevada's revised statutes define prostitution as engaging in sexual conduct with another person in return for a fee, monetary consideration, or other thing of value. The current system of criminalization promotes that prostitution can lead to disease, rape, physical abuse, human trafficking, death, and is a form of systematic exploitation of many men, women, and children. So what I got here is a map of Nevada, and then the yellow is where prostitution is permitted and there's at least one active brothel. The blue is where it's permitted but there are no active brothels, and red is where prostitution is not permitted at all. According to Nevada state law, in order for it to be legalized, the population has to be less than 400,000. And this is just the red hearts indicates where a brothel is located. So it's just a map of Nevada where all the brothels are. Donna's Ranch is pretty close to us. Just looking at that. Rape rates. According to the FBI's Unified Crime Report and the Nevada Department of Public Safety Annual Crime and Justice in Nevada, among the rural counties in the state, those that legalize prostitution have rape rates in 2007 that are over 5 times higher than rural counties without legalized prostitution. The average rape rate in rural counties and legalized prostitution is 46 per 100,000 of the population. And that is also higher than the rape rates in the urban counties within the state, which is 42 per 100,000 in the population. And this is just the numbers that I just described to you. The red is the rape rates in the rural counties with legal prostitution, and the yellow, as you can see, the red are a lot higher than the yellow, and the yellow is our rape rates in rural counties without legal prostitution. And this is just a map of Europe of where prostitution is legalized and where it's not legalized. The green is the countries where prostitution is legal and regulated. Blue is where prostitution is legal but brothels are illegal and prostitution is not regulated. Red is where prostitution is illegal, and gray there is no data. Criminalization. I will be doing the pros and cons of each of criminalization and decriminalize and legalize. So, criminalization. Under criminalization, the current system in place in the U.S., prostitution is illegal and all involved parties, which includes prostitutes, customers, or which are called Johns, and the pimps are subject to criminal punishment. The pros of this system. Criminalization will deter the solicitation of such services. Second, the prostitution is a threat to public health because it spreads diseases, specifically sexually transmitted diseases. Third, that prostitutes are in a vulnerable position and therefore have a higher risk of being violently victimized. This is assumed because they are exposed to greater risks of violence while working. Fourth, that prostitutes prostitution creates social disorder in the community. Brenton Hosbeck, 2005. The cons of criminalizing. Criminalizing doesn't stop it from happening. Prostitutes are not tested for STDs. Prostitutes are scared to tell the police if a crime or abuse took place because it's illegal. The cost of enforcing prostitution laws. Criminalization potentially takes away jobs from those prostitutes. Prostitution could be taxed and create revenue to help the economy. Legalization. Legalization refers to the use of criminal laws to regulate or control the sex industry by determining the legal conditions under which sex industry can operate. For some of the pros, I did a phone interview with an ex-street prostitute, now legal brothel sex worker from Donna's Ranch, and she told me from her experience that legalized prostitution is way safer and healthier for prostitutes and Johns. She stated that because as a brothel girl she is protected and has her fellow employees and the police which are obligated to protect her. Some more pros are that legalization could save precious law enforcement resources. According to prostitutionresearch.gov, for every prostitute law enforcement agencies in America, the biggest cities spend an average of about $2,000 for each arrest of a prostitute, which amounts to more than $120 million a year in enforcement costs nationwide. Another pro is that if legal, then state and county governments could gain significant revenue from taxes. Legalization could make it healthier and safer for sex workers. Now the cons. The cons are there's a potential increase in human trafficking, potential increase in crime, and prostitution is a threat to morale and creates social disorder in the community, and could be an increase in the sex industry. Decriminalization, pros and cons. Decriminalization refers to the removal of all criminal laws relating to the operation of the sex industry. The decriminalization model aims to support occupational health and safety and workplace issues through existing legal and workplace mechanisms. New Zealand, for example, is a country that has decriminalized prostitution, and under the new law it keeps sex workers from being prosecuted and to view their work as a profession. As a result, prostitutes have the same rights as any other worker, according to the American Journal of Epidemiology. The pros. Decriminalization not only allows those who are prostitutes to go into business for themselves, but it removes the burden of the justice system and fosters taxable revenue. It safeguards the human rights of a sex worker and protects them from exploitation, promotes the welfare and occupational health and safety of sex workers. Sex worker becomes a legitimate occupation and have the same rights as any other worker. The cons. The cons is there's a potential increase in human trafficking, potential increase in crime. Prostitution is a threat to morale and creates social disorder in the community, and increase in sex industry. Legal versus illegal. My hypothesis in this research paper was that legalization and decriminalization of prostitution creates more crimes. I found a lot of research that supports my hypothesis and a lot of research that contradicts my hypothesis. There are a lot of statistics out there on the topic of prostitution. I guess it just depends on which you choose to believe. For example, a study by Professor Eric Neumeyer of the London School of Economics and Political Science and a team of researchers analyzed data on human trafficking from a global sample of 116 countries in order to determine what effect a country's domestic policy on prostitution has on trafficking. The study found that countries that had legalized and or regulated prostitution had a dramatic increase in all facets of the sex industry. They saw an increase in the involvement of organized crime in the sex industry, and they found a dismaying increase in child prostitution, trafficking of women and girls, and violence against women. Another study is from Holland, and Holland is a country that has legalized prostitution, but with supply and demand, the downside is that about 70% of Dutch prostitutes are trafficked in from poorer countries, because legalization has greatly expanded the demand for a variety of exotic foreign females. Legalization of prostitution increased demand rather than decreased it. It actually created more crimes for human trafficking. Raymond, 2003. In another study by Alberts and Sava found that legalization in Amsterdam did not lead to an increase of prostitution or increase in human trafficking. Also, New Zealand, a country that decriminalized prostitution, found similar results, that decriminalization did not lead to an increase in prostitution. In fact, it had little effect. Now the implications. Implications for other solutions to prostitution. I personally think that the best solution is that prostitution should be criminalized, abolished, if only it worked. So if criminalization doesn't work, I think that New Zealand has the right idea by decriminalizing prostitution, but also implementing other laws that control it indirectly, such as prohibiting public solicitation and the use of prostitution of persons under the age of 18 years of age. I think that their success could be, if their success could be duplicated everywhere else, it's a pretty good solution. Criminalizing other things or acts to control prostitution. I think that there definitely has to be some kind of law regulating prostitution and certain aspects and actions. There has to be a law controlling prostitution, and the proposed solution of decriminalization with laws controlling it indirectly is a possible solution. I think that in the ideal world, the best solution would be still to abolish it and make it illegal all over the world. In conclusion, the debate of whether or not prostitution should be criminalized, legalized, or decriminalized is complicated. I guess it just depends on which statistics you choose to believe. In my research, I found my research inconclusive. One thing is for sure, that prostitution is not going anywhere. And here is just some pictures of some prostitutes and something for the ladies. I hope you all enjoyed my presentation, and here's the references. Thank you.